We are always engaged in activism. And it's beautiful to come together.
Addressing the gender binary, you know, some people where the pregnancy is more obvious, a lot of people will point out that dissonance, you know, you look like a man, but it looks like you're pregnant. Like, what does that mean? And sort of lots of toxic curiosity questions that might have to be addressed, like in everyday places, like the grocery store or at work, places where people might not want to have those very private conversations, or they can't really control how long they deal with those very private conversations that can be uncomfortable.
Sometimes people will say that autosexuality is a sexual identity where you exclusively experience autosexual attraction, but we don't need to be that restrictive. Someone could be autosexual and also anything else, okay? So I think of this as an additive concept rather than a restrictive one. It's not in competition with other identities, but you might be straight, you might be gay, you might be pan, you might be ace, and also autosexual. According to Kourtney Kardashian, we are all a little bit autosexual.
For many transgender people, the sex trade can offer greater autonomy and financial stability, as I had mentioned earlier, compared to more traditional workplaces, and far fewer barriers to entry. However, economic insecurity and material deprivation can increase one's vulnerability to harm and decrease the ability to make self-determined choices. People of color, immigrants, those engaged in outdoor sex, youth, they're the ones who face the higher rates of police abuse and harassment, institutional discrimination.
All of these stories were coming out of the mouths of white American teenagers, and there really wasn't any other demographic that I was seeing being amplified. And it made me question whether or not I would actually fit in to this community, or whether I should be using a label that didn't really seem like it was meant for me, because none of these people really represented me. Once I finally had an answer, the response was, no, you're not. You don't look asexual. What are you talking about? And I was like, oh, okay. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that.
You adapt to identities that are forming and sort of coalescing around certain movements. I mean, think about, Dykes to Watch Out For as being this, monumental strip that showed queers themselves, sort of mirrored queers themselves for decades, and was able to do it fast, like respond to a given political situation and also respond to movements within the queer communities.
Intersectionality, the blend, biracial and queerness. If we're just looking at two constructs, whiteness and queerness, blackness and queerness, Asian and queer, this goes on and on and on and on. The focus here is we need to integrate. What is it like being Black and white and queer? Let's add some more on there. Being disabled, neurodivergent. What is it like doing all of those things? And let your clients, let your individuals tell you what it's like to experience those things.
And I think first and foremost, for a lot of folks, we have been repressing our authentic selves, and when you actually are able to come out and be your authentic self and be more happy about yourself and love yourself in a way that's been hard to do in the past, that opens up a lot of things, right? And I think especially along the lines of not only our gender identity, but our sexuality, how we just interact with the world, period.
Someone who thinks that they're not judging, scares me more than someone who can admit that they do. So I prefer to say, this is a space where we practice non-judgment. That just feels like a lot more honest to me.
It's about allyship as a verb and find ways to engage in the community. So that can be like a nice place to start. Again, many different intersectionalities and identities. So just finding the folks in the community that are doing the work.
Allyship is when other people who have more privilege than you, or other people who are in a room that you're not in, speak up on your behalf so that you don't have to out yourself and do it.
Encourage people to safely show up for themselves and their communities too, with just the understanding that we can't always do everything that we want to do, because we're not going to be able to do anything if we're in jail or dead.
There's so much that we don't know. The world is bigger than any one human mind can understand. And it always will be. That's why it's teamwork. That's why we come together in community. That's why we specialize. We collaborate, we refer. Because community knowledge, that can cover so many bases. Even learning what we don't know and learning the extent to what we don't know is forward movement. That's an increase in our knowledge. That's beautiful.